Next on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
On this week's special edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, we feature some of our favorite stories brought to you by Intervet Shearing Plow Animal Health.
And now, NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Kevin Oxner. Thanks for joining us. This week, we're bringing you some of our favorite educational stories brought to you by our friends at Intervet Shearing Plow Animal Health. Producers are continually looking for new ways to add value to their cattle as they move throughout the production chain. And one way to accomplish this is through an identification program. Reporter Matt Fleck visits the Joplin stockyards in Missouri to see how a national program called Tri-Merit is benefiting many cattle operations.
Along with the rest of the world, producers are feeling the effect of today's struggling economy.
With expenses as high as they are now and margins tight, you have to do what you can to add some value to these calves, or you have to be a little more efficient in the way you raise them, or both. And consumer demands are higher than ever.
They want to know where their meat is coming from, and if something does happen in the food industry and we need to trace back, we can through the EID tags.
Electronic identification, or EID tags, are used as part of a system called Tri-Merit to easily verify age, source, and movement of cattle through the production chain.
The EID button gives us the ability, when the cattle are sold to the packing house, they read the EID button, and then we can track that information that we put on that button back to the ranch tag.
This meets consumer demands for verification and ultimately increases the cattle's value. And the best part is, Tri-Merit is easy to use.
The tags are put in the final time they're through the chute, which is a weaning day.
We have several different locations, so we use a portable scales, set it up in front of each chute at the different locations. And they go from the chute onto the scales, and that's where we read their number, their 15-digit EID number. And at that time, the calf's birth date, the sex of the calf, his weaning weight, premise number, and vaccination program is entered along with that calf and his number onto the scale head.
This information is uploaded to the Tri-Merit website, and from there, each EID tag can be easily updated as needed.
Then when you're ready to move those calves to a feed yard or to an auction barn or somewhere, you pick them off the website, put them on a certificate, and all that information follows those calves to their next destination or next owner.
As a facilitator for Tri-Merit, Justin Fulkin says many cattlemen are very receptive of this type of program.
We got guys that have 400 cows and we have guys that have 50 cows. And the value to them guys is what to try to work with them to get the most value for their calves at the cow calf end. We are seeing that benefit quite a bit, and they're appreciative of us coming out there and trying to help them get better value.
Jackie Moore is the owner of Joplin Regional Stockyards and sees these benefits firsthand.
It's developed them a reputation for the cattle that they're raising. You know, it's all about reputation in this business. You know, of course, the easiest cattle to sell is cattle that's got a reputation of health and genetics, and the source head and age verification works real well right along with that to make those cattle more marketable.
Adding value is so important to cattlemen these days, and a program called Tri-Merit is helping us do just that. Let's return to reporter Matt Fleck in Joplin, Missouri for more.
The Tri-Merit program isn't only for large producers. Small producers can greatly benefit from it as well, especially at the stockyards.
If you just got one calf out here on the farm that's source and age verified, you might have a little trouble marketing, but in a situation like we put them in with a lot of other cattle that's been handled the same way, it gives them the chance to be able to participate where otherwise they wouldn't be able to.
While the most notable increase in value might be at the seller's end, there are also other areas that aren't quite as obvious.
Probably the biggest premium for us has been the one you don't see, where before we would always gather the information on our purebred calves and use that as a management tool to cull cows or to save future bulls. But now that we're weaning our commercial calves and taking their weights, we're able to track that back to different bulls and different sets of cows, and it's made us better managers.
And better managers can mean higher profits down the line.
Bottom line, the best thing is the ability to market the cattle.
I think it's just added value, and it just all works hand in hand with what we do and what we do with our producers and what Tri-Merit does for us.
With any new program, there's a learning curve, but the cattlemen who are using the program say it's not hard to overcome, and the Tri-Merit staff is always ready to help.
From the IT staff to the top to the field men, they've really been a nice company to work with. We were scared to death when we first started, like anybody else. You know, it was all new. Anytime we had any trouble, they'd help us through it and work out the bugs, and now things is kind of like the routine.
If anybody's scared about using Tri-Merit or any other age source program, don't be. Anybody can do this thing. It's simple.
Keeping up with an ever-changing industry is critical, and Tri-Merit is a tool that can help keep producers on track.
Things change, and you got to change along with them if you're going to be in this industry. And in the tools that you need to make your business work is what we want to be able to take to those customers out there and those producers.
And many cattlemen say you can't afford not to use a program like this one.
You are gaining value, and that's what the goal is to try to get value for your product that you're working out there 365 days a year.
The age source, it's opened up a lot of doors for us. It's made marketing a lot easier today. It's just really been a good tool.
And along with Tri-Merit and a lot of these other companies, I think we've been able to keep a lot of people in business that we would have lost otherwise over the years.
Reporting for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman in Joplin, Missouri, I'm Matt Fleck.
For more information on Tri-Merit and to see a demonstration on how the system works, just visit our website at cattlemanandcattleman.org. Bovine respiratory disease, or BRD, costs the cattle industry millions of dollars each year. And it's a problem that many have found is manageable with the right production practices. Recently, reporter Dave Russell had a chance to visit with the general manager of a feed yard in Gonzales, Texas, to learn more about how they combat the disease.
At Graham Land and Cattle, General Manager Jay Gray spends his days both looking after the cattle and looking for ways to improve his operation. One issue Gray is tackling, shipping fever, or BRD. It's a common disease among cattle who are put in close quarters and are under a lot of stress, something Gray sees regularly.
Well, those are cattle that have been here several days. We've had cattle from this operation before, so they're put in, again, one of those specialty environments where the current weather or the past recent weather, 2 weeks or so, not only on the cattle where they resided, which I knew where they came from, or we know where they come from, but the cattle were put in here, and then we've had several days of inclement weather that's not going to be very helpful in getting them on their feed and nutritionally going.
Gray, looking to help these type of high-stress cattle, turned to his local representative from Intervet Shearing Plow Animal Health for ideas. The solution? A new product called ResFlor Gold, which was used to treat these high-stress cattle.
It's a brand new antibiotic. It's a fluorophenocal, basically the active ingredient in Nuflor, is the base antibiotic agent of the product. Covers the 3 major BRD pathogens from Mannheimia hemolytica, Pasteurella metastasis, and Haemophilus somni. Well, I think people need to know that ResFlor is a new technology, combining the best of both worlds from an antibiotic standpoint to also a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug with 1 dose. The key things about ResFlor is it's very fast acting. Once we give that injection, within 30 minutes to an hour, we have therapeutic levels in the serum, in the blood, to be effective against the 3 major BRD pathogens. The other benefit of it, of course, is the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. Makes the animal feel better, where he's up, moving around, eating, drinking again, doing the things that animals are supposed to do in a feed yard.
And that's exactly the experience Gray saw when administering Res4 Gold to that group of high-stress cattle. About 5 hours after the product was administered, Gray saw a marked difference in the animals, their overall disposition, appearance, and willingness to eat and drink.
We used some of this product earlier on, initially, in some small test cases around the feed yard here, and today we haven't had any problems with those cattle, and we haven't had any follow-up treatments. Those cattle have gotten time with what we want them to do here, and have gone on into their productive systems.
Research shows that early treatment of BRD with a fast-acting, broad-spectrum antibiotic and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory like Res4 Gold is key to fighting the disease.
So basically what Intervet Shearing Plow did was put these two products in one convenient package where you can give a 6 ml per 100 sub-Q injection and cover all of your major BRD pathogens, make the cattle feel better. Basically just like us, when we go to the doctor and we're sick, they give us antibiotics. Well, we take the antibiotics for 5 to 7 days, but we also, first thing I do is go to the medicine cabinet and reach for the Tylenol or the Motrin to make us feel better, and that's what this product does. We've seen where cattle within 4 hours of treatment are up, back at the bunk, putting their head in the water trough, eating, which we all know that that's part of the process to get these cattle back on their feet and performing and feeling better and doing what they need to do.
And in these tough economic times, both Jay Gray and Jay Free say they know it's important not to take shortcuts.
You know, we have to, number one, do the best thing for the animal, treat it the most humanely, and use the best animal husbandry practices that we can. And that includes making that animal feel better, making that animal more comfortable. You know, what's the cost on that? You know, my philosophy is if we don't do these things up front to treat the animal right, they might never make it through the feeding period, and our mortality rates are going to be higher, and those cattle might not even end up in a closeout.
Why we're using antibiotics like Res4 Gold, and there's why do we use any antibiotics? Obviously, we're trying to make this animal a better product for us, getting well and over this problem, just like us as people. And you go see the doctor, you're going to get the best technology that's out there. That's what you expect. That's what you want, because you want to feel better. So we want to provide those cattle with the best technology that's there.
And with all the challenges facing the cattle industry these days, it's good to have choices when it comes to caring for your cattle.
I think Res4 is definitely a product that will fit into everybody's toolbox. You know, different people have different preferences in what they use, but I think Res4 really plays a key role in the feed yard setting, especially with having an antibiotic that gets there very quickly. We reach therapeutic levels within about 30 minutes to an hour after giving that injection. So something that's going to really work fast, get in there and make the animals feel better, and start reducing the bacteria that are in the lungs very rapidly.
Reporting from Gonzales, Texas, I'm Dave Russell for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
For more information on Res4 Gold and the folks at Intervet Shearing Plow Animal Health, visit cattlemantocattleman.org. We'll be right back.
Profit, confidence, value. That's what you get with Tri-Merit, a USDA process-verified program brought to your operation by Global Animal Management Incorporated. Tri-Merit's data management system certifies traditional health processes as well as verifies age and source of individual and groups of animals. To learn more about how Tri-Merit can play a positive role in your operation, visit mygamonline.com.
Your feedlot is a pack-on-the-pounds enterprise where your goal is to get the animals to market fast. Every minute counts as you battle the weather, livestock genetics, and health issues. Now there's a powerful new dual-action therapy for the hospital pen that shares your need for fast action. Res4 Gold. Ask your veterinarian about Res4 Gold. See improvement in as few as 6 hours with Res4 Gold.
As with past generations, today's cattle ranchers are continually looking for ways to create value on the ranch. But there's an ever-increasing concern for ensuring that practices on the ranch are not just profitable, but sustainable as well. Reporter Matt Fleck shows us how one California rancher views sustainability and how it's a lot more than just being green.
Head southeast of Sacramento, California, and you'll find Dwayne Martin Livestock.
We're a cow-calf stocker operation. Run cows and calves in California in the foothills in the winter, and then we go to summer pasture in Oregon, Nevada, or the Valley of California.
The Dwayne Martin family also has cattle on feed in Colorado. The Martin series of operations have been in the making for more than 45 years.
I started when I was about 23 years old. I was driving a ready-mix truck, and I decided I'd like to have a few cows, and I'd been born and raised on a dairy, so I was familiar with livestock, and came home when my dad was retired and had 20 beef cows, and came home one day from work and told him I'd like to buy his cows and rent his little ranch that he had, and he said, yeah, that'd be fine. He says, that's $3,000 for the cows, and that's if you have the money. Well, I surprised him. I had the $3,000, and I bought his cows, and that's how I got started.
And through that time, the Martins have learned a few things about surviving in the beef business and say caring for the land through efficient, sustainable production practices is the key to success.
We focus on three things. Preserving the environment on these ranches, because that's where we make our living, is on Mother Nature. And if we abuse her, she's not going to take care of us. The other thing is utilizing the resources as efficiently as we possibly can, produce the most beef per acre that we can. And then obviously being profitable. A lot of people just focus on the environment only when they're talking about sustainability. We believe in focusing on beef improvement technology. You know, there's more than one way to reduce your carbon footprint in this world, and we believe by being more efficient with the limited resources we have, that's our way of reducing our carbon footprint. And as long as we can do this and still produce a safe, quality, affordable product for the people like we always have, that's what we have to do.
Another part of being sustainable? Constantly analyzing the practices in place on their operations to ensure efficiency.
We're always analyzing and evaluating the ranch and feed yard, everything we're doing there. Always looking at more beef improvement technologies like implants. They're a great asset to us for very little cost. We can produce more beef per acre on the limited resources we have. And as long as we can produce a safe quality product, we have to use everything that we have access to.
Dr. Chris Reinhardt is an extension beef specialist at Kansas State University. He identifies simple, sustainable management practices for ranchers that bring value and profitability, all the while producing a safe, quality product for consumers.
Implants have demonstrated for several decades now the ability to produce more beef per animal off a given unit of pasture, a given unit of feed resources. And so from a sustainability standpoint, they definitely can contribute from that standpoint.
Beef improvement technologies, like implants, are used to supplement or compensate for missing hormones found naturally in an animal's body.
Hormones are a fact of biology. Hormones are present in virtually all living systems, but most importantly for our discussion, in all mammals and in all cattle. What we do with the implants is simply try to increase or replace the hormones we may have removed in the case of a bull calf, where we remove the primary source of androgen, testosterone. We want to replace that to optimize growth out here on pasture and also in the feedlot. Again, hormones are a normal and a necessary part of growth, and we're simply augmenting what's already there naturally. The proper procedure for using implants is that they're placed in the middle 1/3 of the animal's ear, just beneath the skin. Within a matter of hours to days, the incision heals and the implant begins paying out almost immediately.
Implanting calves can increase their weaning weight by as much as 25 pounds, that is, if they are implanted correctly. This Management Minute segment will cover the must-know protocol for safely and correctly implanting calves to help them achieve optimal weight gain. In order to maximize the efficiency of implants and thus maximize the efficiency of your calves, these essential implanting protocols must be followed. The first step to correctly implanting is to clean the calf's ear if necessary and sanitize the needle in chlorhexidine solution. After sanitizing the needle, you can safely implant the calf. The implant should be inserted on the middle 1/3 of the back of the ear behind the middle ridge and not within a finger width of an old implant or ear tag. The implant should be placed parallel to the length of the ear between skin and cartilage. If a calf's ear is non-implantable due to multiple ear tags or previous implants, use the other ear. Avoid blood vessels. Fully insert the needle into the calf's ear, then discharge the implant by squeezing the trigger slowly and fully to ensure all pellets are implanted. Allow the implanting tool to push itself from the implant site. Inspect for proper placement by feeling the implant site with your thumb. Pinch the implant site to seal the incision. Disinfect the needle between animals using a roller containing chlorhexidine solution. If the needle skips or slides over the surface of the skin, resanitize the needle before attempting to implant again.
Implants work. Implants increase pounds of beef weaned per cow, pounds of beef pulled off pasture, and also improve the efficiency of production. We've proven that now for decades, and hopefully we'll have these technologies at our disposal for decades to come.
Let's return to California and reporter Matt Fleck, who's looking at one cow-calf operator's approach to sustainability.
Dr. Reinhardt says research shows implants add real value to an animal and ultimately a rancher's bottom line.
Implants add pounds of lean beef production. Implants increase the size of the animal at the end of any phase of production. Implants increase the size of a suckling calf at weaning time by 20 to 25 pounds. Implants will increase the size and weight of a stocker calf by 20 to 30, 35 pounds, depending on the resources. Implants can add as much as 120 pounds to the final weight of a feedlot animal. The thing that really brings it home for me is that we're increasing efficiency of our total production system, and we're really using a technology that's already in existence in the animal, and we're just optimizing it for production of beef. In a cow-calf production system, we can expect something on the order of 20 or 25 extra pounds due to implanting, which increases 25 extra pounds of saleable weight. Without the use of that implant, we may receive a slight premium, but based on studies, economic studies that have been done in the last few years, the incentives to not use implants are not nearly great enough to compensate for that extra 25 pounds of weight.
Implants are a huge benefit to our bottom line. In order for us to stay competitive, we have to take advantage of everything that's out there. If the next guy is going to do it, then we have to do it. And people that are not taking advantage of the implants, the technology that we have, they're costing themselves money. And the bottom line is we produce pounds, we pay our bank with dollars per head, not cents per pound.
A common misperception is that implanted calves won't respond as well in the next phase of production, but research shows that's not the case.
The question often comes up about subsequent performance of calves that might have been implanted either as a suckling calf or as a stocker, and the subsequent performance effects of being implanted or not implanted in the feed yard. And really the data would suggest that there really is no negative impact of a previous implant on their future performance.
High-quality, affordable beef that requires less land and resources to produce. Proof that beef improvement technologies play a major role in sustainable agricultural practices and feeding the world.
When we can produce 25 more pounds of calf on the same resources, that's putting more food on the table for the American people, and and the people we export to in this country. And, you know, socially, that's kind of our responsibility to produce as much food as we can with the resources we have. If we do something to where we're producing cattle on a ranch and we're not maximizing each animal, then we're not doing our job.
We've had implants now for over 50 years in the marketplace. We've been experimenting and looking into ways to improve the utilization of implants. The implants have been proven not just safe, but effective at improving and increasing the amount of lean beef production per animal, per cow, and also improving the efficiency of our industry.
Reporting from Ione, California, I'm Matt Fleck for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
This story was brought to us by our friends at Intervet Shearing Plow Animal Health, a research-driven company that develops, manufactures, and markets a broad range of veterinary medicines, including, of course, Ralgro and Revlor brand of implants. For more information, visit ralgro.com or cattlemantocattleman.org. We'll be right back.
If you aren't implanting your calves with Ralgro, you're leaving money on the table. Ralgro is tried and true technology that increases average daily gains and improves your utilization of pasture resources. Ralgro can increase weaning weight in steers and heifers by as much as 20 to 35 pounds, which lowers your break-even point and puts more money in your pocket. Don't leave money on the table. Go to www.ralgro.com to learn more.
The countdown to savings is on. Get to your John Deere dealer today and get a great deal on great hay equipment that delivers more productivity in every pass. See us before July 31st and choose huge cash-off savings or 0% financing on John Deere quality balers, mower conditioners, and pull-type forage harvesters. See your John Deere dealer for quality hay tools from start to finish. Offer ends July 31st. Offer subject to approved credit on John Deere credit installment plan. See dealer for details.
Draxxin, clearly cattlemen's #1 choice to fight BRD. Here's why.
Nothing is more depressing in a stalker business as the doctor, and you still have your chronics, you still have your death loss. And with Draxxin, we just found out that, especially with microplows, you just had to be there to see the results.
And the evidence backs up what most cattlemen already know. Draxxin cuts chronics and mortalities by 70%. So talk to your veterinarian and check the online calculator at Draxxin.com. You'll see, nothing gives you more for your money when you're fighting BRD.
Just a great antibiotic.
Very, very effective. Don't let the price tag scare you. It's a no-brainer. You just use it.
Do not use in female dairy cattle 20 months of age or older. Do not use in calves to be processed for veal. Draxxin has a pre-slaughter withdrawal time of 18 days. Please visit Draxxin.com or call 1-888-DRAXXIN for more information.
Welcome back. Success in producing and raising healthy, profitable beef cattle often hinges on the control of internal parasites that steal profits and negatively impact animal health. To learn just how producers can fight this ever-present yet unseen threat, we caught up with our friends at Intervet Shearing Plow Animal Health and asked them about optimal parasite control strategies for cattle producers.
When it comes to battling internal parasites, having the best product isn't enough. Timing your deworming treatment to combat the life cycle of the parasites on pasture is key.
It's so important because parasites affect every aspect of the cattle production, okay? And they're in every production cycle, whether it's cow-calf, stocker, or feedlot. If we look at the three things that parasites do, they affect it, decrease feed intake, decrease average daily gain, and alter the immune system. All three of those can affect the productivity of that calf to the tune of about $190 over his lifetime.
Experts say only 1 to 5% of parasites are actually in the cow herd. Most are in the form of eggs and larvae on the pasture. So cattlemen need to think strategically to reduce the parasite population and prevent losses.
When we have a strategic deworming program, what we're trying to accomplish is a relatively parasite-safe pasture year-round, okay? The benefits from that, there again, come in the form of increased conception rates, increased weaning weights, decreased health problems. The way we do this is attack the worms when the pasture is growing at its best. When the pasture is at its best, the worms are at their best. And so if we deworm at strategic times, then we can have the most impact on our pastures and decrease the number of eggs and larvae on the pasture.
Timing and method of application are just part of the deworming equation. What producers really need to know is if their product is working by checking the effectiveness of their dewormer.
It behooves us all to check and see what we're doing is actually working. And Intervet Shearing Plow several years ago worked with parasitologists to develop a standardized fecal egg count reduction test. And what that does is look at the efficacy of the deworming. So a producer can go out, deworm his cattle, take some fecal samples. 14 days later, we take more fecal samples, and if we get a 90% reduction or better in that egg count, then we know he's had a successful deworming. If it's less than 90%, then we need to go back and look at some things. Did he use the product correctly? Was it dosed correctly? You know, if all those can be answered yes, then we need to look at, is there a resistance problem?
All cattle can be a host of internal parasites. A whole herd deworming program shows benefits to both cows and calves.
All animals, if you're in a cow-calf situation, should be dewormed. While the adult cow will develop some immunity to these parasites, she still sheds a tremendous number of eggs and is a huge source of infection for her calf. Parasites in the young animal are much more detrimental than they are in the older animal, so it's vitally important to keep those controlled in the young for their production.
Brent Parkman, manager of Parkman Cattle Company south of Montgomery, Alabama, knows firsthand how important good parasite control can be.
We've been in business for 35 years. My dad started the company back in the 70s. We're a order buying backgrounder operation. We cover most, if not all, the markets in the Southeast. We also are in the stocker business. We turn out stocker cattle throughout the Southeast and Midwest, from peanut farmers in South Georgia to wheat farmers in Oklahoma and Kansas. In the Southeast, where we get a tremendous amount of rainfall, our cattle come in mineral deprived and loaded with parasites. We are looking to maximize cattle performance, reduction of fecal egg counts, and just doing all that we can do to help the animal perform in the environment that it's going to be in, whether it's in the feed yard or whether it's on pasture.
Let's return to Alabama, where reporter Brian Baxter has more on the benefits of implementing a strategic deworming program.
Parkman Cattle Company is a diversified, family-run operation where the emphasis is on family.
It's a family environment. I work along my mother, my father, my brother, my nephews, my nieces, and my children are getting of the age now where they're getting out here, and it just makes me feel good to see an 8-year-old boy penning 200 head of cattle.
When it comes to selecting a deworming program, beef producers are looking for one thing:
weight gain. Producers are selling pounds. We're using Safeguard to clean the cattle out, to get them clean in order for those cattle to maximize their efficiency on feed or grass when they leave here.
Timing of cattle deworming is important, but not always convenient. So Intervet Shearing Plow Animal Health has developed several non-handling forms of dewormer to allow producers to deworm at the most optimal time for maximum benefit.
Well, the neat thing about with Safeguard, they can actually deworm without having to handle the cattle. You know, research shows that it can cost up to $5 a head to handle those cattle. With Safeguard, with our non-handling forms, you don't actually have to gather the cattle. We have several feed-through products that are just as efficacious as the drench or the paste.
Parkman Cattle Company has incorporated Safeguard non-handling forms of dewormer into various aspects of their operation.
We use Safeguard mineral on hard-to-reach cattle that we don't want to put our hands on and have to go through the stress and the weight loss on those cattle. We'll just pull their mineral and apply the Safeguard mineral to that. We use Safeguard range cubes to deworm our brood cows during times of the year where we don't have to get up and put our hands on those cattle. When the grass is at its best, we want our cattle to be at their best. We want the cattle as clean as possible, and using Safeguard non-handling forms such as mineral or range cubes in order to deworm those cattle will get those cattle at their level that they need to be to maximize their potential.
Recently, Parkman Cattle Company has also started using Safeguard Drench and an injectable dewormer on incoming stocker calves.
At initial processing, when we receive the cattle in, the cattle will be vaccinated and fully processed. Bulls will be castrated. Deworming, we use Safeguard Drench along with an injectable dewormer to get the cattle cleaned out. Cattle just perform better. They're cleaner. After day 30, coming out of the preconditioning pen, they're ready to go to work as far as going on grass programs or into the feedlots.
And there is good science behind using a combination deworming approach.
Well, basically the science behind it is this: when you put an ivermectin together with Safeguard, you're playing to the strengths of both products. Also, there's been some modeling done where we've looked at parasite resistance, and by using the combination, it would appear that we may be able to slow the development of resistance for several years.
A good parasite control program provides the foundation to nearly all other health and production management practices. Dr. Newcomb sums up an optimal deworming approach.
With internal parasites, we should make sure that the producers are deworming these animals at the most optimal time, employing strategic deworming. And then what they need to be doing is actually checking behind these wormings to make sure that they were efficacious.
For Brent and his family, getting each animal to perform to their full potential is the ultimate goal.
Since we've been using Safeguard, we've seen a increase in feed intake, better performance, and that's maximizing our opportunities in the livestock business, because that's what we're about, is selling pounds of beef.
In Montgomery, Alabama, I'm Brian Baxter reporting for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
The recent USDA NAHMS cow-calf survey found that less than 5% of beef producers check the effectiveness of their deworming program. Do you know if your deworming program is working? For more information about fecal egg count reduction tests, talk with your veterinarian or contact your local Intervet Shearing Plow animal health representative. And of course, you can always visit us at cattlemantocattleman.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
They're out there, lurking on your pasture, just waiting to infect your cattle as they graze. Cattle worms cost you money, but a Safeguard strategic deworming program allows you to deworm your cattle and lower worm burdens on your pasture, resulting in improved pregnancy rates and heavier calf weights. Plus, there's a Safeguard form for every operation. So start killing parasites where they lurk. Talk to your animal health provider today about a Safeguard strategic dewormer program. Safeguard. Think strategically. Act decisively.
Our quarter pounder with cheese is made from 100% pure USDA beef. That means there's 0% anything else. That's what we're made of.
Discover a great roundup for beef producers. Now, Boehringer Ingelheim Vetmedica Incorporated has rounded up the top brands of animal health products. You bet your boots you won't find more ways to protect your cattle. So trust the leader to protect your cattle. Trust Boehringer Ingelheim. Talk to your Boehringer Ingelheim animal health representative and discover how we can help your operation.
Welcome back. Each piece of the beef industry is intricately linked from farm to fork, and that's why it's so important for each segment of the industry to work together. As reporter Matt Fleck found in a recent visit to a stocker operation in Alva, Oklahoma, when it comes to animal health, best practices are key to a successful operation.
Well, we're a family-run business. We've got, 3 generations of our family have been here, have probably, 6,000 acres of wheat pasture cattle.
Our place, we receive cattle, light cattle from 3 to 500 pounds. We start them here in our growing yard, and then we go on to graze either our wheat or grass in the summer, wheat in the winter and grass in the summer. Well, my younger brother and our foreman, they're kind of the ones that they evaluate the cattle upon delivery, and there's different programs that we use depending on the way the cattle look and the conditions. We use several of Intervet Shearing Plows products.
In north central Oklahoma, the Poseidon brothers run a stocker operation that brings in cattle from across a broad section of the country. And that means the Poseidons have had some experience with bovine respiratory disease or shipping fever.
BRD has always been a problem on these fresh shipped in cattle that are highly stressed. Anything that's coming out of cell, been weaned, they've had so many different stress levels thrown at them that it's a concern. We bring these cattle in that whether they come off a ranch or out of a cell, evaluate them when they come in. A lot of it's just by the appearance of the cattle, how they look. We're constantly in battle with keeping the BRD down.
Bovine respiratory disease, or BRD, is a complicated problem that can be caused by Pasteurella matacida, Histophilus somni, and Mannheimia hemolytica. The problem is further complicated when cattle are under stress and commingled, commonly occurring problems every time animals are shipped. The Poseidon brothers have good systems in place to evaluate the cattle and combat BRD.
A lot of it's, just having good people there that are experienced, that are really good at evaluating cattle and sick ones, and get them in the pens, try to get proper nutrition to them. We try to use a liquid feed product that's a kind of initiator. It's got good microbial, gets the rumen real active, get them to eat, and try to put a good feed out for them. Try to keep the pens clean. We just try to treat them as we need to, and sometimes it'll be kind of a load of cattle that you can just pull 10-15% out of, but after they've been here for a week or so, you don't want to let them go too far and go too deep or let your sickness get too far along. So you'd like to try to get pull on those cattle when they need to be pulled, but not too soon, but don't let them go too far where you can't turn them around.
The Poseidons also turn to their local representatives from Intervet Shearing Plow Animal Health for solutions to BRD, and are now using a new product called ResFlor Gold.
It's a two-purpose product, and having the uniqueness of an antibiotic and an anti-inflammatory in one product, and having that combination available allows us to be able to treat this animal. And we position ResFlor Gold as a first treatment. That's where we position the product. So when we pull that sick calf for the first time, this is a product that we're going to utilize on the animal. And since it has the anti-inflammatory and the antibiotic in the same bottle, it reduces your injections by 1 if you were using an anti-inflammatory in a separate injection. So it allows us to get that product into the animal with fewer injections for using that type of therapy.
Up next, we'll return to Alva, Oklahoma for more tips on how to proactively manage BRD. Let's return to reporter Matt Fleck in Oklahoma, who's learning how one stocker operator is managing BRD in his operation.
The Poseidon brothers say ResFlor Gold has worked well, that they've seen immediate improvement in treated cattle, and that there have been few, if any, repulls.
It's been a good product. We've seen it work. It's like a new drug. It's out there. It seems like they always work good. You're hoping that the cattle and the bacteria or whatever don't build up any resistance to it, but we sure haven't seen anything like that right now. So I think the results we've had with it's been really good.
Like I say, the recovery rate seems to be, the response on the drug seems to be almost immediate. Next day, you can sure tell an improvement in the cattle, and just continues to be another added drug that we can use to keep the health of our herd in good performance.
And it's a unique product, and we're very excited about it because some of the unique characteristics of the product, it combines not only an antibiotic but an anti-inflammatory in combination in the product, which makes it unique in the marketplace. And that allows us a lot of options for our customers. It allows them to cut down on one possible injection site that they may have had to be using with their former protocol for once they go to this product. But the basics of the product, we feel that it gives the anti-inflammatory, gets a fast-acting fever-reducing effect to the animals, which allows them to feel better, get back to the bunk, get some nutrition, and while that antibiotic starts taking effect, actually go in and start killing bacteria.
At certain temperatures, Resflor Gold moves through the syringe better if it's warmed first.
In cold weather conditions, the product can be thick, so we proactively try to provide our customers some tools to help them manage through that process and make it a good experience using the product. And we make several different types of bottle warmers, and what we always ask customers to do is try to use this product, but start with the product at room temperature. Let's not try to warm a bottle up from 40 or 50 degrees. Let's start with it at room temperature. Most of our bottle warmers that we have available that we can use with the product will get that product up to maybe 90 degrees, and we know that the product will flow well at that temperature. So we make these available for our customers that are utilizing the product.
The Poseidon brothers say Resflor Gold works well on their operation, and it's easy to manage the syringeability of the product. In fact, the Poseidons have found Resflor Gold is the right product to treat BRD in cattle that make it onto their operation.
Well, Resflor Gold is a good combination drug. You know, it's a good antibiotic drug with an anti-inflammatory. You look at the cattle and you think about what it has in it and the way it works, and you can't help but like it. It seems like it helps to knock the fever better. The antibiotics there to take care of the bacteria. It just really, with the combination of the two together, I think you just got a little bit of advantage there that helps to, really just get the cattle back to bunk sooner. It looks like to me, with what we've used on it, it's worked. It's worked well. We've run a lot of cattle through with it, hadn't had very many repulls, and got along well with it.
We think it is worth the investment. Like I said, the recovery rate on the cattle seemed to be excellent. There's not a lot of repulls. It's on the cutting edge of the antibiotics that we've been using, and we seem to be having good luck with it.
In Alva, Oklahoma, I'm Matt Fleck for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
For more information on Resflor Gold and the folks at Intervet Shearing Plow Animal Health, visit cattlemantocattleman.org.
Your stocker operation is a pack-on-the-pounds enterprise where your goal is to get the animals to the feed yard fast. Every minute counts as you battle the weather, livestock genetics, and health issues. Now there's a powerful new dual-action therapy for your doctoring crew that shares your need for fast action. Resflor Gold. Ask your veterinarian about Resflor Gold. See improvement in as few as 6 hours with Resflor Gold.
You can tell a lot about a cattleman by his cattle. Purina AccuRation feed with intake modifying technology gives cattle that uniform muscular look. It maximizes forage utilization and controls intake based on forage quality and cattle needs. It reduces labor, saves time, and helps cattle perform to their highest genetic potential, boosting your net return. Available in AccuRation Cattle Limiter, Superlick, Superblock, and Impact Starter. AccuRation feeds from Purina Mills, building better cattle.
Why is B&W's turnover ball the best-selling gooseneck hitch in the country? Maybe it's the ingenious way it solves everyday problems. Or because it's time-tested and is rated to tow 30,000 pounds. Maybe it's because our lifetime warranty gives hard-working people peace of mind. Or maybe it's because folks love to own a hitch that's still 100% made in America. The turnover ball by B&W. Trusted.
70% of consumers want to know where their food comes from, and how can we ignore them? IMI Global offers third-party audited source and age verification essential for export markets and specialty markets like natural, organic, omnivoric, Eskimo, or possibly recovering vegan certified. For quality and age producers, to the big boys, any cattleman who wants to expand his market, you're not just buying this green ear tag, you're buying peace of mind. IMIglobal.com. If God intended cows to swim, He'd given them all flippers. You rarely see a mermaid calf or Holstein skinny dippers. Now, Randy wasn't brilliant, but he was a heavy breather, which helps when chasing wild cows who aren't that brilliant either. The cow in question spotted him, stuck her tail in the air, and lit out for a tank dam in the pasture yonder there. Randy fell in hot pursuit while shaking a big loop out. He knew he had to catch her quick, or his horse and him would poop out. She hit the bank, took one big leap, and dove in like a porpoise. The last thing our two cowboys saw was a disappearing orifice. She swam out to the middle where her feet could still touch bottom, submerged there in the water, looking vaguely hippopotam. "We've got her now," cried Randy as he bailed off his horse and jumped into a rowboat that was tethered in the moss. He grabbed an oar and shoved away and started paddling wildly and rowed himself out towards the cow, who watched him crocodilely. He roped her off the starboard and half hitched her to the bowsprit, but she breached just like a marlin and covered him with... He planned to tow her backwards, but her feet dug in the sea floor and pulled him clear across the pond and out upon the lee shore. The hull was flying all apart and headed for a shipwreck. The poop deck lived up to its name, or should that be cow chip deck? But he hung on there behind the cow despite the flying shrapnel, no doubt to go down with his ship like any good ship captain. Well, the cow put Randy up a tree, up there in all his glory, as she butted up against the trunk and marked her territory. "Pretty scary," hollered Steve-O. "I'm surprised she wasn't drowned." "Yup, that cow just plain out foxed me," muttered Randy, then expounded that I've learned myself a lesson. A basic rule refresher. That cow, the boat, and me can't hold our water under pressure. This is Baxter Black from down under, out there.
Thanks so much for joining us on this week's edition of NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. We'll see you right back here next week on RFD TV.